The day I saw my sister singing my song to a crowd of strangers, I realized something heartbreaking. She didn't just steal my music, she stole the version of me I was too afraid to be. Welcome to the last lesson. If you're new here, hit subscribe for more emotional, real life stories that'll make you feel everything. Trust me, you'll want to hear how this one ends. I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. I was never the confident one. I was never the girl who walked into a room and made people turn their heads. That was always her, my older sister, Maya. She had this energy, this light that just pulled people in. And me, I was the shadow, the quiet one, the girl who lived in notebooks and melodies that no one ever heard. Music was my secret language. It was the only place I felt brave. I started writing songs when I was 14. Back then, they were just messy journal entries with a melody attached. Raw, unfiltered emotions I couldn't say out loud. My bedroom became my studio. I'd record voice memos on my phone at 2 in the morning, layering harmonies, humming bass lines, building entire worlds out of sound. I never shared them. Not with friends, not with my parents, and definitely not with Maya. Because here's the thing about being the younger sister of someone like Maya. You learn early on that your accomplishments will always be measured against hers. She was the one with 10,000 Instagram followers. She was the one invited to parties, tagged in photos, commented on by strangers who wanted to be her. And I was fine with that, honestly. I didn't want the attention. I just wanted to create. But somewhere along the way, I think I convinced myself that my music wasn't good enough to exist outside my bedroom, that it was safer to keep it hidden, that if no one ever heard it, no one could tell me it wasn't worth hearing. I was 19 when everything changed. It was late spring. I remember because the windows were open and the air smelled like jasmine and fresh-cut grass. I was working on a new song, something different from my usual stuff. It was softer, more vulnerable. The lyrics were about longing, about wanting to be seen, about the ache of invisibility. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was writing about myself. I was so lost in the music that I didn't hear Maya come in. Whoa! I jumped, nearly dropping my phone. She was standing in my doorway, eyes wide, one hand on the doorframe like she'd been there for a while. "How long have you been listening?" I asked, my face burning. "Long enough." She stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "Was that you? Like you wrote that?" I nodded, suddenly feeling exposed in a way I hadn't felt in years. Maya sat on the edge of my bed, staring at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "Why didn't you tell me you could do that?" I shrugged. "I don't know. It's just something I do. Just something you do." She laughed, but it wasn't mocking. It was genuine amazement. That was incredible. Seriously, I got chills. And there it was. That feeling. The one I've been chasing my whole life without knowing it. Validation. From her. From the person whose opinion had always mattered most. "You really think so?" I asked quietly. "I know so." She leaned forward, her eyes bright with excitement. "Do you have more? Like, how many songs have you written?" "I don't know, maybe 50? 60. Her jaw dropped. 60? And you've just been sitting on them? I looked down at my hands. I guess I never thought they were good enough to share. Maya shook her head slowly, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You're insane. These need to be out there. People need to hear this." Something warm bloomed in my chest. For so long, I'd felt invisible, even in my own family. But in that moment, sitting in my small bedroom with my sister looking at me, like I was someone worth paying attention to, I felt seen. Finally, beautifully seen. Over the next few weeks, Maya became my biggest cheerleader. She'd knock on my door at random hours, asking to hear whatever I was working on. She'd lie on my bed, eyes closed, just listening. Sometimes she'd tear up. Sometimes she'd replay a voice memo 5 times in a row, dissecting the lyrics, asking what inspired them. "You have a gift," she told me one night. "Like a real gift. You know that, right?" I didn't know that. But hearing her say it made me want to believe it. She started talking about our future plans, how she could help me build a following, how she knew people who knew people, how her social media experience could be useful. "You're the talent," she'd say. "I'll be the bridge. We'll do this together." I love the sound of that. Together. But there were moments, small, fleeting moments, when something felt off. Like the time she asked me to send her the raw files of my recordings just to listen to while she worked out. Or when she started asking detailed questions about my creative process, taking notes on her phone. Or when she mentioned, casually, that she'd been learning about music production software. Why? I'd asked. Just curious, she said with a smile. I want to understand your world better. I ignored the small voice in my head that whispered, why does she need the files? Why can't she just listen on my phone? Because I wanted to trust her. Because for the first time in our lives, we had something that was ours. Because I was tired of being invisible, and she was offering to help me step into the light. I remember the day I sent her a folder with 20 of my best songs, complete recordings, polished demos, my entire heart in audio form. This is just between us for now, right? I'd asked. Of course, she'd said. I'm just going to listen through them and think about strategy. When you're ready, we'll figure out the best way to introduce you to the world. When I was ready, that phrase echoed in my mind like a promise, like she was protecting me, like she understood that I needed time to build courage. I went to bed that night feeling hopeful, feeling like maybe, just maybe, my music would finally find its way to people who needed to hear it. That my voice, quiet as it was, mattered. I had no idea that in 3 months, I'd hear that voice coming from someone else's mouth. I had no idea that the person I trusted most would become the person who broke me. But that night, lying in my bed with my window open and the jasmine-scented air filling my room, I was still naive enough to believe that love and blood meant the same thing. I was still naive enough to believe my sister would never hurt me. 3 months. That's how long it took for my entire world to shatter. 3 months of Maya telling me she was still working on the strategy. 3 months of her saying the timing isn't right yet, whenever I asked about sharing my music. 3 months of me writing more songs, pouring my soul into melodies, trusting that my sister had my best interests at heart. I should have known something was wrong when she stopped asking to hear my new work. It was a Tuesday afternoon in August. I remember because Tuesdays were my slow days, no classes, no work, just me and my music and the summer heat making everything feel lazy and slow. I was scrolling through Instagram, not really paying attention, just killing time before I started working on a new song. And then I saw it. The thumbnail made me stop breathing. It was Maya. Professional lighting. Aesthetic background. Headphones around her neck. And the caption read, pouring my soul into this one musical note sparkles my first original song, Invisible. Link in bio. My first thought wasn't anger. It was confusion. Maya doesn't write music. She doesn't sing. She'd never mentioned wanting to release a song. I clicked on the post. The video started playing and I heard it immediately. The piano melody. The chord progression I'd spent weeks perfecting. And then the vocals came in, my lyrics, my exact phrasing, my melody line, but it was her voice singing them. Or rather, it was my voice that she'd somehow extracted from my demo and layered with her own, making it sound just polished enough to pass as hers. I'm standing in the room, but no one sees my face / I'm screaming all my truth, but it echoes into space / I've been invisible my whole life / maybe I was never meant for light. Those were my words, my pain, my story. And there was my sister sitting in front of a ring light, mouthing along to them like they'd come from her heart. I watched the entire video in stunned silence. 3 minutes and 42 seconds of pure betrayal set to the melody I'd created in my bedroom at 2 a.m, crying into my phone. Then I looked at the numbers. Posted 6 hours ago. 500,000 views. 47,000 likes. 3,200 comments. My hand started shaking. I scrolled through the comments, each one feeling like a knife. This is incredible. You're so talented. Why isn't this on Spotify yet? I need this on repeat. The lyrics hit so deep. You're going to blow up, I can feel it. This deserves a record deal. Someone sign her now. And Maya was responding to them, thanking them, using crying emojis, saying things like this song came from a really vulnerable place, and thank you for connecting with my art. My art, my vulnerable place, my song. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at my phone, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. It felt like reality had split in two. The world where I was a creator, an artist, a person with something to say, and this new world where I was nothing, where my voice belonged to someone else. I called her 17 times. She didn't answer. I texted her, "We need to talk." Now, the three dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Can't talk RN. I'm doing an interview with a local music blog. They reached out after the song went viral. Isn't this crazy? Party popper. An interview." She was giving interviews about my song. I felt something inside me crack. Not break, not yet, but crack. Like ice on a frozen lake, right before someone falls through. By that evening, the video had over 1 million views. Local news outlets were sharing it. A indie record label had commented asking her to check her DMs. Music reaction channels were starting to cover it, analyzing her lyrics, praising her emotional depth. And I was invisible all over again. Except this time it was worse. Because I wasn't invisible despite having talent. I was invisible because my talent had been stolen and given to someone else. My sister hadn't just taken my song. She'd taken the one thing that made me feel like I mattered. She finally came home around 9 that night. I was sitting in the living room, waiting. Our parents were out at dinner, so it was just us. She walked in with this glow about her. Excited, energized. She didn't even notice the look on my face at first. "Oh my God, you would not believe the day I've had," she started, dropping her bag on the couch. 3 different blogs want to interview me, and this guy from... That's my song. The words came out flat, emotionless, because I think part of me was still in shock. She froze. For just a second, something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or fear. But then it was gone, replaced by confusion. Practice confusion. "What are you talking about?" "Invisible. That's my song. I wrote it. I recorded it. I sent it to you 3 months ago." She laughed. Actually laughed. "Okay, I know you write music, but I wrote this one. I've been working on it for..." "You used my vocals." My voice was shaking now. I can hear myself in the track. "You layered your voice over mine, but I can still hear me underneath." "That's insane." She crossed her arms, her tone shifting from amused to defensive. "You're hearing what you want to hear because you're what? Jealous? Is that what this is?" The word hit me like a slap. Jealous. I finally do something for myself, something that doesn't revolve around you and your feelings, and you can't handle it. She shook her head, and I couldn't tell if she actually believed what she was saying, or if she was just that good at lying. "You said you'd never share your music. You said you were too scared." So yeah, some of the melodies might sound similar because we grew up in the same house, listening to the same stuff. But I wrote that song. I sang it. I put it out there while you were still hiding in your bedroom. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "Maya, I have the original files. I have the voice memos. They're time-stamped. I can prove." "Prove what?" She stepped closer, and her voice dropped to something cold. Something I'd never heard from her before. "That you have some old demos that sound vaguely like a song I released? Good luck with that. You think anyone's going to believe that I stole from my little sister, who's never shared a single thing publicly? Who has 0 online presence? Who literally doesn't exist in the music world?" The ice cracked wider. "I trusted you," I whispered. "And I'm trying to help you." Her tone softened, just slightly, and somehow that was worse. "Look, when this really takes off, I'll mention you. I'll say you helped with some of the writing, or whatever. You can have a producer credit. But right now, this is my moment. Don't ruin it because you're upset that I had the courage to actually do something with the music, while you just sat on it." I stared at her, at this person who looked like my sister, but suddenly felt like a stranger. "You really believe that, don't you?" I said quietly. "You actually think you did nothing wrong?" She didn't answer. She just picked up her bag and walked toward her room. "Maya." She stopped but didn't turn around. "What happens when someone asks you to perform it live?" For just a moment, her shoulders tensed. Then she laughed, too loud, too bright. "I'll nail it, obviously. It's my song." She disappeared into her room, and I sat there in the silent living room, my phone still open to that video. 1.3 million views now. The comments still pouring in, building her up. brick by brick, using materials she'd stolen from me. I could expose her. I had proof. I had the original files, the timestamps, the handwritten lyrics in my journal with dates on every page. But as I sat there, something occurred to me. Maya couldn't actually perform that song. Not really. Not the way I wrote it. Not with the emotion it required, the range it demanded, the soul it needed. And sooner or later, someone was going to ask her to prove it was hers. I closed Instagram and opened my voice memos. Scrolled to the original recording of Invisible made 2 years ago when I was 17 and crying and pouring my heart into my phone. I saved it, backed it up, made copies, and then I waited, because sometimes the best way to reveal the truth isn't to scream it. It's to let the lie collapse under its own weight. The waiting was the hardest part. For 2 weeks, I watched my sister's star rise while I stayed silent. I watched her give interview after interview, stumbling through questions about her creative process with vague answers like, "It just came to me," and "I write from the heart." I watched her gain 15,000 new followers. I watched her accept praise that belonged to me with a smile that looked so genuine. I almost wondered if she'd convinced herself the lie was true. Our parents were proud. So proud. They shared her video on their Facebook pages. They told their friends about their daughter, the musician, the overnight sensation. They didn't know they were bragging about the wrong daughter. I didn't tell them. Not yet. Because I knew something Maya didn't. I knew that you can fake confidence, you can fake an image, you can even fake a recording. But you can't fake talent. Not when you're standing on a stage with nowhere to hide. And Maya was about to find out exactly what that meant. The announcement came on a Thursday. "Big news," her Instagram story read. "I've been invited to perform at the Emerging Artists Showcase at the Velvet Room next Friday. This is going to be insane. Come see me perform Invisible and some other new material live. Link for tickets in bio. Microphone sparkles." I screenshot it, saved it, and for the first time in 2 weeks, I smiled. The Velvet Room was a big deal in our city. It was where local musicians got discovered. Industry reps showed up. Music bloggers, influencers. If you wanted to be taken seriously as an artist, this was the stage that legitimized you. And Maya had just committed to performing my song live in front of all of them. I bought a ticket that night. General admission. Back of the venue where no one would notice me. The week leading up to the showcase was strange. Maya was nervous, I could tell. She kept practicing in her room with the door closed, but I could hear her through the walls. She wasn't singing. She was playing the recorded track over and over, mouthing along to it. When she did try to sing, it was pitchy, strained. Wrong. She came to dinner one night with dark circles under her eyes. "You okay?" our mom asked, concerned. "Just stressed about the performance," Maya said, pushing food around her plate. "Want it to be perfect." "You're going to be amazing," Dad said. "You always are." I said nothing, just watched her across the table. This person who'd taken everything from me and was now terrified she couldn't hold onto it. Part of me felt bad for her, but a bigger part of me felt something else. Something colder. Something like justice. Friday came. I got to the Velvet Room early, dressed in all black, hair pulled back, trying to blend into the shadows. The venue was packed, probably 200 people, maybe more. I recognized faces from Maya's Instagram, fans who'd connected with her song. I saw local music journalists with their cameras. I saw people who looked important, holding drinks and having conversations that probably decided careers. And I saw Maya backstage through a gap in the curtain, pacing, her hands shaking. The showcase started at 8. There were 5 performers total, and Maya was 4th on the lineup. I watched the first 3 artists, all genuinely talented, all performing their own original work with the kind of authenticity you can't manufacture. The crowd was receptive, appreciative. This was an audience that knew real music when they heard it. And then it was Maya's turn. "Give it up for Maya Chun," the host announced, and the applause was immediate, loud. People knew who she was. They'd seen the viral video. They were excited. Maya walked onto the stage, and she looked the part. Perfect outfit, perfect hair, perfect smile. She took the microphone with practiced confidence, and for a second, I almost believed she could pull it off. "Hey everyone," she said, her voice steady. Thank you so much for being here. This song is really personal to me. It's about feeling unseen, about struggling to find your voice in a world that doesn't always listen. I hope it means something to you the way it means something to me. The irony of those words nearly broke me. The music started. The backing track, my melody, my arrangement, built from the demo I'd sent her. The room fell quiet, expectant, and Maya started to sing. It was wrong immediately. The key was off. She practiced it in a different register, probably one more comfortable for her range, but it completely changed the emotional tone of the song. Where it was supposed to be vulnerable and aching, it sounded strained and uncertain. She missed the first run entirely, her voice cracking on what should have been the most powerful moment of the verse. I saw confusion ripple through the audience, heads tilting, eyes narrowing. She pushed through to the chorus, but it got worse. She was rushing the tempo, trying to keep up with the backing track instead of feeling the rhythm. And then came the bridge, the part I'd written to showcase vocal control, to build from a whisper to a cry, and Maya just couldn't do it. She went for the high note and it came out flat, pitchy, desperate. Someone in the front row whispered to their friend. I saw them pull out their phone. Maya saw it too. I watched her confidence crumble in real time. She started overcompensating, adding unnecessary runs and riffs that didn't fit the melody, trying to prove she was talented even as she proved the exact opposite. By the final chorus, she was practically shouting into the microphone, all technique abandoned, just trying to make it to the end. When the song finished, there was applause, but it was polite, obligatory, the kind of applause you give when you feel awkward, when you don't know what else to do. Thank you, Maya breathed into the mic, and I could hear the shake in her voice. She knew. She knew she'd failed. She left the stage quickly, and I watched several people in the audience exchange glances. The music journalists weren't taking notes. The industry people looked disappointed. And then I saw it. Someone near the front pulled up Maya's viral video on their phone, comparing it to what they'd just witnessed. The damage was done. I stayed for the fifth performer, then slipped out before the lights came up. I didn't want Maya to see me. Not yet. By the time I got home, the internet had already started dissecting what happened. A video titled Emerging Artist Showcase Performance versus Viral Video, What Happened, was already up. Someone had recorded Maya's performance and put it side by side with her original post. The comments were brutal. Why does she sound completely different live? This is giving lip sync vibes. Did she even sing the original? Something's not adding up here. The emotion is completely gone. Wait, I went to high school with her. Her little sister was the musical one, not her. That last comment made my heart race. More comments piled on. Yeah, I remember. The sister used to write songs and play at school events sometimes. This is SUS. Can someone investigate this? I feel like we've been lied to. She needs to address this ASAP because the live performance was not it. I watched it unfold in real time. Watched the doubt spread like wildfire. Watched people start questioning everything. Maya came home around midnight. I heard her go straight to her room, the door slamming shut. I heard her crying through the walls. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied, vindicated, but mostly I just felt tired, sad, like we'd both lost something that could never be recovered. I opened my laptop, looked at the folder labeled My Music Original Files, looked at the timestamps, the voice memos, the handwritten lyrics photographed and dated, all the proof I needed. I wasn't ready to use it yet, but I was getting close, because the truth was already coming out on its own. I just needed to give it one final push. I uploaded a private video to YouTube. Just a simple recording, me sitting in my bedroom, singing Invisible a cappella. No production, no backing track. Just my voice and the raw emotion I'd poured into those lyrics 2 years ago when I'd written them. I titled it, The Truth About Invisible, Original Demo, 2023. I made sure the timestamp was visible, made sure the date was clear, made sure anyone who watched it would see exactly when I created this song. And then I saved it as a draft, ready to post when the moment was right. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to The Last Lesson for more real-life stories about betrayal, revenge, and redemption. Your support means everything. New stories every week.